MaxPax is that it's just going to be hard to break him in a best of 7 as well. I don't know if MaxPax has enough tricks up his Protoss sleeves, but we'll find out as we start in the bottom right-hand corner. Our red Zerg from Basilisk, it's Serral.
And our blue Protoss representing Psystorm Gaming, it is MaxPax. Man, it's so cool. Like, he is such an enigma of a player. Like, I don't think in any esports there's somebody as mysterious as this man right here. But he hasn't got here from just, you know, being a fluke. Like, he is pure hard work and work ethic. Like, and the fact that he has revolutionized Protoss as hard as he's done, and some of the builds that he's done, and it's like, when he first came on the scene, which feels like a long time ago now, but it was literally just a few years. And it was like, oh, who do you look to for inspiration? And it's like, what? There's a pro scene? And it's like, he had no freaking idea about, like, other builds and other Protosses and what they were doing. He just went with his own thing and what he felt was good. And yeah, the fact that he's here now and going up against Serral, like, this is where legends are made.
Yeah. No, it really is, isn't it? It's, honestly, it's so cool to see someone, different in the finals of Europe, right? You know, we've been talking for years about, like, can Showtime make a run or Gabe make a run, and really it's just been the Serral, Clem, and Raynor show in Europe. Like, yeah, Gabe's been there, but they were always, like, fighting over 4th place, and Lambo had that run one time, but, you know, also, again, top 3, not top 2. It's just always been the same trio, and, you know, now we've got someone else that has finally broken through to a finals. Can we have a new winner in Europe? Because the only people to have won Europe since the start of these regionals and the form that they're in now has been Serral, Clem, and Raynor, so... yeah, it's very exciting that we could have a brand new kind of European champion in the next couple hours.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Like, both these builds are very ordinary from what I can see from both of them. MaxPax did go for a little bit of a Nexus, or rather a hatchery block over on the other side of the map, and so that's why Serral's hatchery is in the normal 3rd base location. But yeah, it's super cool. I mean, Serral obviously torpedoed onto the scene and won BlizzCon and absolutely was the European to put the name on the map and finally win a world championship ahead of the Koreans. Now, obviously, we've had Oliveira do it. But yeah, in Europe, Raynor followed ever so quickly, and then Clem rocketed up as well. And then for a while, it was like, wow, it's the Terrans and Zerg show over here. But the fact that all 3 races now have a true representative in Europe, that is fantastic to see. And good job, Dave, I guess.
Good job, Dave.
You know, 10 years after he stopped working on StarCraft 2, still doing a good job. But a little bit of nerves coming in from MaxPax here, because this adept caught out, and that wanted to get a lot more done, I do imagine, or at least stay alive.
Beautiful first defense from Serral, just catching that. One less adept to deal with, and now you don't have to deal with the double adept, right? You know, if one adept grabs a drone, it's already like, oh, that's amazing. But then 2 adepts show up, and you got to run drones around a little bit and stuff. But look at this. You just pull a couple of lings away. I mean, usually you're trying to save drones, and in this case, I was like, oh, I'm going to preserve my Zerglings because I'm not going to let them take 2 hits, because that's the sort of position he's in, because he didn't let 2 adepts get together. This has just been a very solid start from Serral. It's just little beginnings, right? It's just, you know, first plantings of a seed, but these are the kind of seeds that Serral is like the watering can to, because he will make them grow into some kind of ridiculous advantage, and that's what's so tough about playing against Serral, right? Like, he is just so good at making the most out of the tiny little things.
I just have this image of Serral being Jack, and he's like growing this freaking beanstalk one day, you know, like just going absolute ape on it. But yeah, production-wise, MaxPax is getting out a few extra oracles on the field. His 3rd base, he did nail that. He did bring over an oracle, his first oracle actually, just to make sure it was getting up. Both are super aware of what the other one's up to, which is nice. 3rd and 4th gas coming online now for MaxPax, and all things said and done. It's going up to 3 oracles, but this isn't irregular. And his micro, with these oracles, he's setting them up. So he's getting wrapped around the base here, and Serral will have to respond nicely. But so far, he's matching MaxPax very nicely indeed.
His defense is insane. 3 queens here, 3 queens there. He does only have 1 and the Spore on the main base. This is MaxPax's maybe best chance of dealing damage, but he's just not sure about going in, so he doesn't. It's an absolutely pristine defense, and with just 1 Spore as well, right? So it really means that you've been able to just maximize the amount of drones. He's going to knock down the rocks in the center. That slows down any sort of aggressive follow-up, although with Triple Oracle is not much of an aggressive follow-up usually. Just Serral doing all the right things so far, and, you know, there's a, you know, it sounds crazy, it's only 5 minutes in, and you know, not a lot's happened, but it's because not a lot's happened. How often do you see a Zerg at this point, even just losing 2 or 3 drones where it's like, oh, that's still a pretty good defense? Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. There's one drone going down. Finally, we get a kill, and we're looking for more. You can see MaxPax once more. He isn't allowed it. And typically, the earlier you get drones, the way more important they are. But how late he got that single drone, it was almost, you know, it just wasn't valuable at all. It was fine for it to go down. Serral's defense has just been so good at the start of this game.
It's been good, and he's also been pretty persistent about just trying to scout what's going on. Obviously, as Zerg, you have to be a little bit careful with these 3 Oracle openings. Not only with the 3 Oracles to deal economic damage, but what comes afterwards. Like, even though I call MaxPax a revolutionist, in this matchup, Hero really brought along this style and was like, these big Stalker Gateway attacks afterwards, and we do see Gateway Explosion coming down, +1 on the way for both of them, melee attack for Serral, and Blink coming online as well. And MaxPax, he's been probing up really well. He's not really skipped a beat on that. But when it comes to Serral, he's also been very good about getting the drones out here.
Yes, no, he really has been. He's just been droning away. Not stopping at all. A couple extra lings going down. Queens coming through to punch these Adepts back a little bit as well. It's just going to push those over there. But it has given the Oracles an entry point, finally, for one more drone. Honestly, like, I'm like a broken record. I keep on repeating, but he's just defending so well. And don't get me wrong, MaxPax isn't losing a lot himself. It's just you expect the Zerg to have lost a few things by now. +1/+1 and Blink on the follow-up has seen the double forge from MaxPax as a setup here.
I like the double forge, you know. Definitely can throw a bit of a spanner in the works. Like all those judgment calls that you make off the fly, like these players do every day of their lives. As soon as a different upgrade comes into the fray, or how to deal with the 2-2 as opposed to the 2-0, can really mess things up. But all those practice games that you've calculated, but Serral's supply is growing. His 4th base is a rich gas base, meaning he can get that gas flowing very, very quickly. We do see that his army is starting to technically advance. Baneling speed on the way, almost about to finish, along with the Roach speed as well. And it's just as this attack is coming online. But MaxPax, so far, microing fairly decently. Did lose a Stalker, but just poking and prodding and see what he can get done.
Yep. Yeah, just trying to see if he can get his way in here, but I'm terrified that we're on our way to +2 melee. Baneling speed's coming online, and all this poking and prodding with Stalkers is fine and all, but Serral's gonna max, and the first couple of waves of Serral, once he's maxed, with the kind of start that he's had, this is where you have a great time. I mean, that's a nice stasis ward, but the fact we're just pushing these Stalkers back so far anyway is already amazing. You know, pushing them right back up to a Nexus and a battery. I know I keep on sounding like I'm a little Serral fanboy right now, but he's just playing that well. Look at this, Queen's immediately in position because that Prism will not be allowed in to deal damage.
I mean, you've got to be a Serral fanboy at this point. He's playing really damn good. Those units do come out the stasis and try to get a big wraparound here, but man, MaxPax has really showcased that these Oracles can be used in a variety of ways. Just because you don't get damage done early on doesn't mean that they're not still a threat later on with things like Stasis, Revelation, the little slow charge lots. Upon realizing that, MaxPax is like, all right, let's hold on a little bit. Let's wait for the charge over there, and let's wait for some more magic to happen on the map so we can time it out, I do reckon. 38 Banelings at once. Serral, he's not kidding around with this.
He is not kidding around at all, man. Like I said, when he is maxed out, the first couple waves of him is going to be terrifying. Cancels the base on the left side straight away. And he's already jumping forward just to push these Stalkers back again. And I mean, it basically means that Serral, with this creep spread here too, has this launch pad into this forward Nexus. Already the Bane's coming through and hitting down some of the static defense. The Super Battery ain't going to last very long either. And now there's just Banelings going through for the probes. 14 drop already. And Serral already has a pretty good start. And he still has Banes left over. He's like, oh, they're not going to get away. I guess I'll keep fighting. And extra Lings show up as well. The Stalkers aren't good against the Lings. The Oracles are. The Zealots are. But there's none of these here. The Oracles are pretty much out of energy. So the Lings right now alone are very threatening. And all of this is before +2 melee. That's about to kick in. These Lings are going to be even better in a couple of moments as Serral just keeps on swarming.
I mean, there's so much Serral here, and those 2-2 that he had planned on the way, MaxPax, they are not going to come online before the end of this game by the looks of it. I mean, there's so much Serral. He's on the right, he's on the left, he's in the middle. He's just got more everywhere you look. This game isn't about anything but who's got more right now, and it's just more about Serral, and he's keeping on flying us on 5 bases. He's still stopping whatever's happening on the right side there. I think a Warp Prism's flying over into that base on the far right, but right now, Serral is just non-stop producing, man. Non-stop producing. Even going up to a Hive, he's feeling good.
He is, man. Hive on the way, keeping up the pressure, staying maxed out. As you knock down bases of MaxPax, it's going to be incredibly difficult for MaxPax to sustain in this game. These upgrades just don't feel like they're doing enough for MaxPax. The double forge hasn't really done enough. And he's just not had any sort of aggression really hitting the other side of the map. Serral has lost 2 drones all game. You know, and that was to the triple Oracle. They found 1 drone, then another at some point, and then since then there's just been nothing else. Zealots have not found a way in, Prism's been deflected. This has been a game of, obviously it looks like a game of offense for Serral because his attacks have been great, but it was really a game of defense. It's not letting the Protoss do everything else that's made you so powerful in your attacks now.
To be super fair, he isn't really rich. He's maxed out, but it's not as if he's on like 90 drones, is it? He is committed to this, massively so, but MaxPax, he's backed off into a corner. Lovely wall that he has, but GG. Serral, just too big, too fierce this game. Man, that actually... I felt pretty hopeless as a bit of a MaxPax fan. Like, I felt a bit hopeless there. I was like, was there any moment where I was thinking, man, MaxPax, you had him on the ropes? Like, you know, if I was his coach in his corner, I'd be like, in fact, I wouldn't even know what to say. I wouldn't know what to say. It's just like, good luck next time, mate. Good luck.
It was not a pretty game, but I will say what I think is that I think this is one of those scenarios where we saw in a couple of the other matches, I think last night especially, where when you don't have that good start and you can't find that way to be aggressive, I think you just got to slow the game down a bunch. And it's okay to poke and to prod, but like last night, Astrea dropped down the Temple Archives and got to Storm. I appreciate that's maybe not your plan because you're going double forge. You probably do want to be very Stalker Zealot focused. But there's just scenarios where I think in this case, where you do no damage early, you can see Serral's building up big into the unit count. Just get towards some sort of tech because Stalkers and Zealots are just not going to cut it if Serral's just had a free road to do as he wishes. And that was exactly what he had in this game. So I think just one of those scenarios where he really could have maybe adjusted MaxPax. He was very set on being aggressive, and with the way it didn't start off well and the way that Serral was going about it himself, it's not like Serral was being greedy and teching up either. I just don't think that was kind of destined for success at all for MaxPax. So maybe an adjustment there. I get that you maybe don't want to be playing Storm. It wasn't the plan, but I think an adjustment had to be called out at some point.
I mean, a lot of these games can come down to like, did he plan? Like, he lost that first adept, and I mean, I know it's easy to hone in on one error there, but maybe something else was totally lined up. And it all banks on everything, right? Like, these players have obviously practiced so much to get where they are. Maybe that is a huge chain of events, and it's just like, man, everything else wasn't panning out. Maybe even the stasis that you had planned out later on, they were meant to be bigger and better for what they were. Anyhow, spawning over in the top right here, as I read Zerg on Ancient Cistern, it is Basilisk Serral.
And the bottom left-hand side, our blue Protoss from Storm. This is MaxPax. I think, so what I think is maybe the good thing for MaxPax as well, so you were his coach, I think you gotta say to MaxPax, hey look, you're one of the most versatile Protoss players in PvZ. You don't have to rely on Stargate play. You have, and even if you have to end up relying on Twilight Council and Adept plays, you're one of the A, best at them, and B, you can do it in such a varied kind of set of ways as well. I think that's a big deal, because if this was a lot of other players who are just mostly comfortable with Stargates and they throw out Adepts every once in a while as kind of a mix-it-up, then yeah, I think you're in trouble. But I think MaxPax, if he wanted to play the rest of this best of 7, playing mostly Adept builds, switch up to a Dark Shrine and Archon drop one time, he's one of the few players that have confidence in doing that and making it look different and good each and every time. So, yeah, I'm kind of down for that from MaxPax, I suppose. It's a long way to go in this best of 7, but yeah, just a reason to be hopeful, because otherwise the start of that last game, or the start of this series, just didn't give you a lot to be hopeful for.
And to be fair, New is one of the bigger maps, right? Like, it's not necessarily in the Protoss playground where it's like, oh yeah, I love playing that thing. It's quite long, it's quite narrow. Those oracles take a little bit of extra time to turn up and what have you. By the way, this game, Serral did opt for something that he was doing in that series against Clem as well, but it's far more normal in this matchup, where you go for a 15 hatch. And then it turned out that was way before the probe turned up, and he gets a nice setup here where it's like, oh yeah, my hatch is in my natural now, and already this kind of stuff. I mean, MaxPax is going to be used to Zergs trying this kind of stuff against him, but yeah, it just showcases that Serral is willing to mix it up just a smidge, maybe to make it more his playground, if you will, because whenever you're playing against an opponent where you're prepared for whatever they're going to throw at you and you're the one making the little adjustments, it's far nicer to have that plan in mind, you being the one to make the plan as opposed to your opponent reacting to you. But MaxPax didn't batter an eyelid. He was just like, boom, Nexus, nice and early before the cybernetic score, and he's going to be going for a nice and early adept here. And Stargate again.
Adept popping out. Stargate is already on the way up in the main. The single Zergling coming in just to have a little bit of a scout around. You have the adept of MaxPax coming over, and is immediately just going to jump onto the Ling, kill that off, and yeah, obviously nice scout in. Obviously, you just get information so early on. You mentioned it earlier. I think you said something like he's doing the Serral thing where he just gets amazing scouting when he was playing against Clem. It's so true. Like Serral gets, I think, about 5 times more scouts on average than any other Zerg. Like his information gathering is so amazing. It's almost ridiculous. Like he goes to pick up information when other Zergs would never even bother trying because they just assume, well, why would they let a Ling in? And yet Serral always gets this Ling in. It's
yeah, always
quite spectacular.
In every matchup.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, even when you play against him, you're like, oh yeah, Scout is good, right? Like, I've been on the other end of Serral, and I'm just like, how? Like, you know, like he's like a sponge. Like this kid, he wants information, and he's sucking it up as the game's going on. It's like, you know, he's smart enough to utilize all that information he's getting as well. Like, some players, I knew that they could see stuff, and they'd have no freaking clue, Wardy. No freaking clue. Serral sees a little bit, and he's seeing into my soul right there and then. Like, he just sees absolutely everything. But first Oracle is out. It looks like a very, very similar opening here for MaxPax, where he's just getting a few Oracles on the go. And he obviously feels good about these kind of openings. And when it comes to Protoss versus Zerg, I really do respect these Stargate openings. It just allows you so much freedom and stability to macro behind.
It does, and obviously MaxPax not being put off by the lack of success in game number 1. And of course, Stargate openings are versatile enough as well, where it doesn't have to be the same thing repeatedly. Oh, that's unfortunate. He has to drop double Revelation. His goal here is to clean out some creep, but to drop a second Revelation wasn't the plan, because obviously it was kind of meant to just be the active tumor straight away, or at least both these tumors at once, so just a bit misplaced initially. You mentioned, you know, a bit of a mistake and nerves perhaps when it came to the first adept last time.
Boy.
It could be the same here. He commits with these adepts going in. He will start to get some drone damage. So finally, Serral is going to take some damage early in a game. It's going to cost you 4 adepts though. Usually, oh, okay, we're going to get more of the oracles. That's going to add up. Finally, MaxPax find a crack in the armor. And when he does, he really slides the sword deep in there.
I tell you what, 4 adepts if it was for just those 3 drones like we initially saw, but getting the lings, like the 7 lings and the 7 drones, hey, that's not bad. That's not bad damage. That's kind of what you're looking for. Now, granted, it isn't the be-all and end-all. Like, Serral can recover from this quite easily, / he's still feeling like, that isn't too bad. I've also damaged up those units a little bit here, and he's still relentless about pulling these drones and just getting stuff done. And now, without those adepts on the map, now I feel that creep can really reign free, and Serral, he's just constantly pulling down the drones here.
Yeah, no, it's very true. He's going to have creep all over. It's kind of funny because it's like, it was not a bad attack by MaxPax, but by losing the adepts, the creep is going to become very good. That's going to be amazing when you're playing this melee-style upgrade, because you're going to want to be all over the map, you're going to want to be counter-attacking, and that's the exact kind of thing you're now able to start doing. So that's going to be a big benefit, as we do have the melee upgrade. Number 1 just finishing, and of course with Lair about to be done, we can start +2, and again, we saw just how powerful it became the moment +2 melee finished in the last game. Yes, there was a lot of build-up to it, but that was really the point that pushed over the edge and really stopped MaxPax from being successful, who really is kind of just repeating that game 1 for the moment. Double Forge off the back of 3 Oracles. The Adept play was obviously different, and he's obviously found more damage early, but the core idea of what he wants to get done seems to be very similar. We'll see if he wants to still take as much of an aggressive setup, because I feel like it's very difficult to be aggressive on this map, and even Serral drops an Infestation Pit nice and quickly here too.
Yeah, Serral's working on his 4th and 5th simultaneously here. The 4th is just finished. MaxPax does feel he can move out with a little bit of a squad here, and Blink is just about to finish. It is nice to utilize these oracles as much as you can with what you can, but look at Serral. He's actually darting onto the map with a group of links. He knows a 4th base is coming, and he's going to shut that down before it can even think about... Oh! Kill. It's a kill, not even a cancel there. That's actually a really big deal.
Yep, the Oracle activates, but doesn't even get many lings. Oh, what a split from the stasis board! You're kidding me. That's actually sick, no? How do you even notice that with the group of lings returning home? Like, Okay.
I've seen
Things.
players get caught massively off guard by that, but he saw the little blur there, and I don't know, like I saw his camera on the little minimap there. You can see the red squares blinking about. Those are the vision of both these players. They are absolutely everywhere, and he did not look at that for long whatsoever. MaxPax is utilizing his army nicely. It's quite mobile here, can clean up a lot of this creep, and that will make Serral feel a little bit less safe. And look at that. Blinks onto the high ground. He's joined by a lot of Stalkers now.
Yep, it is a lot of Stalkers, but we're getting ever close to the +2 melee, and I do just wonder how he's going to deal with this amount of Lings. We do have Hive coming up as well, access to, well, I guess Adrenal Glands if you're playing this Ling heavy could be a big deal too. We are about to have charge, that's where the Banelings are going to come in. Our Lings start to surround some of these Stalkers as well. Another good play. I mean, obviously there is knowledge of thinking and expecting the Stasis Ward to be around these locations because that's where the Stalkers are pushing. Usually they have Stasis Ward support. So there's that part to it as well, and he's really playing around that idea as he splits these couple Lings off. There are slow Zealots, slow lots up in the top left-hand side. They're not doing much just yet as we start to lose a few drones though, but probes on the other side. Banelings are going to crash in for 9 and make it 10, and that is going to be Serral doubling up on damage dealt in the last few moments.
I tell you what, MaxPax is handling all this really well. That fight in the north side, he's actually dealing damage and stopping mining over here as well. He's doing good with the oracles because there's no queens. They had to go elsewhere to do their thing. And then he also pro-pulled and didn't lose as much as he absolutely could have. So I tell you what, MaxPax is alive and kicking this game. Kicking him back down to 4 bases. Is the Warp Prism still alive? Okay, it's still alive here, just above the main base. You can see that Serral has dealt with that, but... oh, MaxPax doing far better in this game than the previous one, I tell you.
Very unlike Serral to not kind of deal with something, right, that took as long as this did to work out, because these Zealots were hitting this base for a long time, but yeah, he did not really deal with it properly or effectively. And MaxPax does benefit from a hatchery kill, so that's a benefit. Creep spread's definitely being halted as well, so we're not seeing as much control for Serral. He is sending a few more Banes across the map. We'll keep our eyes on those because we know that that is very likely going to be a bit of a problem as well as the rest of the Lings jumping towards a few Zealots, and this time they might clean them up. If you can be busy while these Banes get across, but they hit the Stalker. Well, that's a nice defense, obviously, from MaxPax. Again, well handled.
Well handled. His money is climbing up, but he's making use of it. He's getting his 5th Nexus behind this. It's going to be 2-2 upgrades against just 2-0 for now. By the way, Roach Speed only just came online for Serral, so that's something that will help out. Now that Warp Prism finally shut down. Queen Transfusers being kept, keeping these Queens alive, but these upgrades on these charge slots are helping a ton for making it take a lot of extra time. And MaxPax is still microing with the Stalkers down here. And look at this, Wardy. This is getting fierce between these two. But Serral does hold. And he's holding on pretty damn strong as well. Still on 80 drones, and he's taking his 6th base now. I mean, when that +3 comes online with the Adrenal hasn't started yet, but then the Zerglings get very, very scary.
Yeah, no, I am terrified about where the Zerglings are going to end up as... oh, my goodness. If those probes connect, they're insta-killing, right? Because they've got +2 melee, so those probes had to run for the hills, and they just got away. Zealot's in the top left again. Serral's quick to get there this time around. He's already in position to deal with the bottom right too, so position himself nicely. And obviously MaxPax still trading well, though the resources lost is favoring him by quite a substantial amount, about 3,000. Now we're going to apparently kill an Overlord while we get chased down by these Lings, and the Lings keep going for a while. Even more Zealots showing up top left, but they're going to run right into the same set of units that already defended here. The Prism trying to figure out where it wants to go from the top left as well. That's the new Prism, of course, because it got denied previously. MaxPax is still keeping up, but man, he's still losing probes as well. Serral finding opportunities to counterattack, but Serral's supply overall is not really sticking up there.
No, it's not all, and MaxPax keeps on growing, man. Yeah, he's lost pros, but he's just kept his army alive. And this double forge style, Wardy, look at that, he's even affording +3/+3. And even if Serral does get scary enough to move out across the map, Disruptors is going to start coming out as well. I think MaxPax is doing it, man. Finally, you see what this strat is made of, and right now, Serral's getting massively wounded. These units are way stronger than what he's probably used to.
What a wild difference from Game 1 to Game 2, where a lot of the core concepts from either player were really just the same thing. Serral now going to head towards Lurkers, which really is an amazing answer to these Stalkers, Zealots, etc. That's the one thing for MaxPax is that currently he's low tech, but you just mentioned he does have options to tech up further if he needs to. Finds a Disruptor here, though. That's nice. That's a great catch, in fact. And Serral is now currently on 5 bases. Prism has been dealt with again, by the way, so they're currently Prismless. And I actually am worried. If Lurkers get on the map, we actually really do not have a good answer for those right now from MaxPax, because Disruptors were kind of meant to be it, but we lost the first, and the second has just started building.
Oh, Adrenal Glands only just began. I think that's a critical mistake here. The first Aces ain't bad, actually, stopping a few of these units, but Serral was absolutely looking for more. And you're right, if those Lurkers do get out on the field, but Serral is being caught here in a real sticky situation. These Stasis, that one is gorgeous here. Acts as a little wall against those Banelings as well, so they have to run on home. But man, I love the way that MaxPax is approaching this.
Yeah, me too, but I gotta give credit to Serral too, because I feel like he's just everywhere with the defense at the moment. Like, since the Zealot's got the top left base once, maybe twice, he's really been much better at keeping units around over there. Of course, this is causing him to have a bit more trouble defending bottom right, but he's caught so many groups of Zealots. 6 Lurkers are coming up. I do feel like they make such a big difference. Even though the supplies are incredibly close, Lurkers are just not something you can attack into right now. We do have one Observer that is going to go just about get away, actually. And we did kill the first Lurker thanks to the help of the Disruptor, so far so good. And MaxPax is going to tip on over into the supply lead, and I think he is doing it, man. I think he is.
He's now hit 3-3, Wardy. Like this, his Zealots are going to be two-shotting those Zerglings. They're going to be standing as strong as they possibly can as well. That last Zealot, look how long it takes to die against that whole little Zerg flock. You can really tell that these upgrades are kicking in. And by the way, those Oracles, the 3 Oracles he has, I just counted the kills, 15, 15, 13. Now granted, a lot of it's on Zerglings, but the fact that they've been getting the value going constantly throughout the game and they're still alive, and all the Stasises as well, value. But Serral, he's coming in here, and I feel he really needs to clean this up, but oh, that Stasis, talk about Stasises, that is juicy Lucy, and Serral has to run home with his tail in between his legs.
Oh, yes, and now it's the Zealots on the right-hand side to finish off this hatchery, and Serral is not just going to run away. He's going to leave this game. He's done, and MaxPax is going to bring it back to 1-1 in our grand finals. Wow, what a difference from game 1 to 2. What do you think made such a big difference, even? Because, like, it was extremely similar. Yes, he found some drones, but you can't tell me that 7 drone kills is, like, the difference between this being, like, unstoppable and it being completely swept over the last time around, you know?
I mean, 7 drone kills compared to 0. I think that's actually a pretty decent difference. Like, if you really knuckle down into it. Also, the map is a little bit different, but he really got allowed to kind of bully him a little bit on both sides. Roach speed was late as well for Serral, so these fights weren't as good as they could have been. I think the Oracles as well. The Oracles in combination with those Stalkers on that right side, while distracting in the north. I mean, can you get away with that every game? Maybe not, because it did rely on Serral kind of, slipping up a little bit. But we cannot not mention how good all these counterattacks were from MaxPax. Like, this was a hard game. Some of these Baneling blocks, like, even though he did lose probes, you saw a few times where it's just Stalkers in the good locations and blocking cannons defensively. Just a very, very well-rounded game from MaxPax, but it's not going to get easier before it gets more tricky, because altitude is going to be the third map here, but well played, MaxPax.
Yeah, no, I do wonder how much. I mean, he obviously likes this style. It worked very well there. We'll see if he can keep bringing it out. Altitude is a map. A very open map, very difficult for these Stalkers to kind of find as many chokes to get away from. So maybe this is where we switch up a little. I'm very intrigued by what MaxPax does game by game, just because of, the fact he's done the same thing twice now. And yeah, I am kind of just fascinated as to what he wants to do. But in the top right, our red Zerg from Basilisk, Serral. See if he can fight back, as he lost that previous game.
And spawning here in the bottom left-hand side have some magnificent display of Protoss shenanigans. It is MaxPax. Serral again opting for that extractor trick here to get 15 out of 14 supply, to go for that very, very, very early hatchery, meaning that he will not get blocked if the Protoss does send out an early probe like MaxPax is doing here. MaxPax definitely a man of particulars. He likes a way of going about things. Like, you talked about, should he go for the same thing again kind of thing. I'd much prefer it to fail the first time and then you to remedy it and then do it again kind of thing, you know what I mean? As opposed to, I've done it once, now my opponent learned how to deal with it, because this felt more like you learned how to do it than the other way around.
No, that's very true, actually. It's it does feel good to be able to kind of like fix your mistakes, right? To improve on what went wrong and to kind of be like, hey, look, this is why it wasn't good, this is why it wasn't working out too well. Because that can obviously then make Serral think like, oh man, he's like adapting, he is learning, he's figuring it out himself. That can be kind of scary to go up against, of course, as our probe is
Is it blocked in?
Is it stuck?
It's stupid. It's stupid. It's a probes around. That is great.
I've never seen that before.
I've never seen it before either. I mean, it's going to be very irritating if you keep that probe there until like a queen comes out, because he's going to be denying mining.
Sure, but...
And you can't really hit it.
And no more irritating than it usually would be anyway, right? Because a probe would be doing this on multiple different mineral lines, or mineral patches anyway, so... Yeah, I mean, you get queens just at the same time as you get lings, and he actually isn't going to build lings straight away here. I wonder if he doesn't feel like he needs lings immediately because the probe's here, so he doesn't have to chase it down. So it just skips 2 lings and makes more drones.
I mean, it does also free up you taking your 3rd base as fast as possible. My goodness, that is quite the... I've never seen that in my life.
No, I've never seen the probe have to recall home because of this. Spawn pool, just to kind of think ahead in the game a bit, the spawn pool is in an interesting position then, because obviously that does fully wall off that backward area. I'm not sure if that's going to have a big impact, but say there's like an adept attack and the adepts go from one side to the other. I mean, maybe just something that the wall off could hurt a Zerg if they're trying to like wrap around adepts or so. A very minor thing, probably will not come into effect, but it's kind of interesting because, like I say, you never really see that, man.
You never see it. You never see it. And from this point on, this game isn't quite what MaxPax has planned, you know? Like, you don't open games thinking you're going to recall a probe. And, I mean, these guys are good enough to know where to use their energy and where that was probably misplaced and stuff in the future. But, yeah, really, really cool to see something quite as wild. But MaxPax is going to go for the safe and steady here. He's going for that Stargate and yet again. But I like it, man. I like it a lot.
Yeah, he is really sticking to the Stargates, which, to be fair, Altitude is a Stargate map, as we do get a drone early with the 1 adept this time. Serral, it almost feels like he used all of his perfect defense in Game 1, and now it's, you know, not that one drone's terrible, but it is an early drone. It's just, you know, a little bit less than what it was in Game 1. It felt like Game 1 really set a precedent, and now anytime a drone dies, I'm going to be, like, a little bit judgy, you know, because, like, well, in that first game, you were so good, Serral.
No, yeah. I mean, losing 1 probe here and there, you know, very often you can turn it into a spore crawler. Maybe you didn't quite have the minerals available. But still, moral victory-wise, he surrounded a probe with a spawn in pool, Wardy. I think he's going to be feeling all right.
Yeah, that's that's very true. I want to go back and look at how it actually went down. Like, the probe just goes there and the drone decides, oh, that's where I'm going to drop the spawn in pool. Like, that is fascinating, man. Crazy.
It truly is. It truly is. All right, this first Oracle that flew in didn't really get anything done whatsoever. And there is a second Oracle just flying out on the map, but you know, we've really learned that these Oracles, like, Protosters use them like the Banshees now. Like, even if you don't get them damage done on the first go-ahead, you regenerate, you go in again, you do your thing. And also, we've seen how well MaxPax was using them in that previous game, where it's just like the stasis, the revelations afterwards. Like, they are truly a super value unit in every way, shape, and form. And that deviation that you talked about, Wardy, the Adept Glaive on the go, and will he? Okay, gets 2 probes here for his troubles with these Oracles. That's not bad, and gets away. Oh, going in for a cheeky other one as well.
Very nice. When you're following up with these Adepts, any drones you knock down now makes it a little bit better. A bit further down the line when the Adepts show up. So yeah, if Serral keeps on sticking to this melee upgrade and Ling-heavy style, and he's been bypassing Roaches both games so far, it makes the Adept switch up that powerful, right? Because then all of a sudden you are really not in a position where you can actually deal with Adepts very well. Like, what is Serral making early that does good against the Adepts? Not much. Now, he is going to drop the Rotron here, so if he can put that into use, then brilliant. He does see these Adepts with the Oracles. The only thing he hasn't seen is a 3rd Oracle. Because actually, he's coming in right now with the Overlords. I think he's going to see this and see the Twilight already researching. I think he's going to have a good idea of what's going on.
I think he is too, but we do have to commend MaxPax on the fact that this... By the way, he hasn't got a pylon on the go. He's super supply blocked here. I mean, maybe he's not looking to warp in again right now anyway, but that is something that could bite him in the butt. I mean, he's got a lot of minerals banked up here. I dare say he would love to be warping in, but yeah, talking about what Serral's got, if that +1 finishes in time here, he doesn't have that much on the field to really deal with this, does he?
No, he does not, as our Adepts are going to go and move forward, shading by, and let's see, our first Roaches are coming up, but they ain't ready yet. The Adepts shade towards the ramp, where Lings do get a bit of a catch, and some Queens are in range to help as well, so I dare say that that might be one of the better fights Serral could have found straight away. Now only 4 Adepts left to shade around here and there. Honestly, what a beautiful defense as we grabbed a Stalk with a few Lings on the other side. Oracle's come in for a few more drones, but in the grand scheme of things, 3 workers, and you clean up all the adepts that have glaives, you generally take that as a pretty big victory.
Absolutely. Like, that could have been really damaging, but MaxPax wasn't 100% committed to this. Like, it wasn't an all-in by any means, was it? Like, this wasn't a when you see Creator just flow in with a billion adepts,
25,000 adepts.
Yeah, and no pros behind it. He's actually macroed really well. Like, his probe count's high. He's going on to 4 bases, going up to that double forge, and yet again, this is so reminiscent of Mana when he went up against Serral in a grand final a long time ago. Yeah, and he was just like, you know what? I'm doing it my way. And he was double forging all the way. And he actually managed to take a good couple of maps off Serral in that final. And nobody expected it, but put on a show. And MaxPax, yeah, he's going about it his way. And I love it, man. He's not missing a beat with these upgrades either. He's putting so much focus on it. As soon as that +1 finished, he was like, boom, +2.
Yeah. That Mana series was fascinating, because what I learned back then is that the double upgrades were really good for the Immortal timing versus Broodlords. And that sounds like the most ridiculous thing ever. It was because of how the Broodlords would, or how the Immortals would be able to deal with the Broodlings better. We actually saw Ling die. Yeah. Everyone keeps telling me Lings can't get crushed by rocks. There you go. That Ling finally got crushed. Proof. Right there.
That's one of those where it's like, me? Only me? I'd have at least wanted like another one to go. Very unfortunate for that Ling, but...
guys, move the rebel, please. No? They just all run off. It's like, huh.
At least MaxPax knows where Serral's next Expo attempt is most likely going to be. But this army, it's lacking a lot of upgrades right now, isn't it? Like +2 melee, +1 ranged missile. Okay, speed is starting to finish for these roaches. We'll start finishing for these banelings as well very, very soon. But look at that. We're seeing drones dying. This is at like the 3rd base of Serral right now. Is that just a few adepts flying in?
Yeah, I'm not sure there was... I can't even see anywhere. I'm completely lost.
I think it was the 3rd base, like the triangular one, just because there's a few dudes missing over there. But okay. Stasis, lockdown. Serral's doing a good job of just making sure they aren't too bad against him. And, you know, I love the adjustment by Serral. He sees his opponents going for these big upgrades, and he's like, you know what? I'll get my second Evo and go for these upgrades as well, making his life a lot less difficult for himself.
Yep. Yeah, he's just going to double down, and obviously missile upgrades, especially something he didn't have last game at all for a very long time. Super focused on melee, and look how fast Adrenal Glands is this time. That was definitely something he wanted last game that he just never went into for a long time. 100% a mistake. Prism not allowed access over here, but there is still damage elsewhere. Once again, the 3rd. This time we do grab the Adepts that are getting rid of a few drones. So, I mean, it's MaxPax just chipping through that economy of Serral. He's going into the Disruptors, the Robo Facility too. I think just the shape and the size of the map has really meant that both players aren't kind of as aggressive, so we're not seeing as many of the trades. Like, MaxPax is here with the Stalkers, but it's not as feisty, it's not as trade heavy as it was last time, and hence, especially for MaxPax, the splash damage is coming online a lot more quickly as well. Massive stasis ward.
That is actually a huge stasis ward, and MaxPax again trying to go into that 3rd base will be met by Serral this time with those adepts. I like the fact that he keeps on warping in some adepts here because they still have that glaive upgrade available. So if he just shift queues up and kills a few drones, that can help a lot. And here, Serral like a heat-seeking missile for these stasis traps, and that army, these are very low-tech armies going at it, but they are big upgraded armies. And look at this, there's carnage everywhere. Probes are dying to these little baneling run-bys, both on 80+ workers here. Oh, I feel that this is all the calm before the storm, but it's not actually that calm when you think about it.
There's a lot of little things going on in a lot of different places, and it's just adding up on either side. I mean, we're talking about 20 drones dead this game. It's just been a few here and a few there. All of it keeps on adding up. So it has definitely had an impact, and you're not wrong. I think things are about to kick off. As you get maxed out, especially Serral, he doesn't want to sit on this army forever. And if he does sit on this army, he needs to be trading with it because... well, it's not meant to win a straight-up fight, so he's going to be all over the map. He's going to be a bit here, there, and everywhere. These Banelings are going to try and come through. Probes all going to go down. The Super Battery in the back might be in trouble as well. The Banes decided just to leave in the end. That's 13 workers killed, but we are warping in still aggressively over on this right-hand side. Use Zealots to catch this new hatchery, as we do have Ling Bane also hitting this left side. And there's also Zealots top left, man. There's just StarCraft everywhere right now in altitude.
Yeah, this is exactly what Serral wants, though. Like, granted, he doesn't want to be getting attacked exactly, but getting your Banelings and giving the Protoss nowhere to run to, that is exactly where MaxPax doesn't want to be. His whole advantage in this game has been the fact that these Stalkers run back, bait him into a stasis, then they fight with superior numbers and off-creep. if you've got nowhere to run to, and you're going to be losing probes because these banelings are absolutely magnificent, then you're in trouble. And MaxPax is switching it up. He's going into Archons, getting the disruptors out. He realizes that this ain't working out for him anymore, and that was 47 banelings morphing in. And look at that. As soon as these upgrades are finishing, Serral's just boom, 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 getting the carapace as well, and +3/+3 starts with MaxPax as well.
I mean, Serral is not... MaxPax's not wrong to add on the extra tech, I suppose. Serral's army's still pretty low tech. In theory, Archons and so on should be great against it. But Serral just dealt a really devastating blow with all those workers killed and just now has that bit of a supply edge, whereas before it was max versus maxed. An interesting position because MaxPax comes in from the other side with a couple of disruptors early. Now there's one disruptor shot left. It is going to catch a few Banes to turn back around. There's actually more disruptors in the core here. These Balins are going to start blowing up everything. Well, you know, they kind of do very well just for how clumped everything was. I mean, kind of. Ling's now on top of the disruptors. 18 probes go down. Oh my god, what carnage. Again, I mean, just ridiculous battles going on, Ben.
They really are. It feels like, oh my goodness, that is a gold base and a half, isn't it? I mean, that's going to boost Serral's economy like crazy here. And both these guys really going at it. MaxPax is kind of left with one last hurrah here, though, because Serral, he's been left untouched economically. He's mining 3 times more minerals right now, and these banelings, there's just not enough damage in MaxPax's army to deal with this. There really isn't.
Yeah, Serral trying to get a couple of those Lings towards some of these stasis wards, try and take enough of them down. That Archon is saved by the stasis there. It's super low. It doesn't even have any shields left. The Banes are going to make their way through. These 2 disruptors on cooldown. They're not going to change anything. In fact, they are going to die, and this time Serral's going to come and whack his way through this Protoss force, and Serral is going to win game 3. That's absolutely fascinating that we've seen at its core the same thing. Yeah, okay, MaxPax went Glaives this time, and he didn't do super well. But he was very quick into the double forge and blink after. And we just keep seeing like very unique kind of ways for these games to play out. That's really amazing. I'm very glad for the switch up. I think MaxPax was absolutely correct to kind of put Glaives in because it did feel like that was something Serral was meant to be weak to, but he did not actually find as much as I think he was hoping for there at all. And yeah, Serral, good defense. And then eventually just wearing him down. The few Bane attacks multiple times over, finally getting like 40 probes or something, really made a big difference.
Yeah, it felt like it was kind of a little bit close for a while there, but then as soon as Serral went for that attack on the far right side, and, you know, it was a very low-tech army, but very well upgraded and got on top of things, and it was, as soon as you start recalling with Protoss against Zerg, when they're already on top of you, I think that's when, like, problems arise, right? But, yeah, Serral just really showcasing masterclass of CVP. I love the little touch as well, where he realizes that some of these little skirmishes between the units aren't as favorable for him, especially on the ancient system. But then here, it's like, wow, his units are actually totally trading very well now with these upgrades. And yeah, he didn't skip a beat. Like, he's evolving as the series is going on. And MaxPax, he's the one now. Like, he's got to step up to the plate and yet again. And it's so difficult to do against a guy like Serral, because what do you do?
I actually don't know what you do. Actually, it's a little bit tough. I feel like MaxPax still has some builds he can use. As we get to some more compact maps, maybe some just straight up adept openers that can work a little bit better. Maybe that's something that's on the agenda here too. Because MaxPax, like I said earlier, is one of the most versatile players when it comes to PvZ because he's so good at a lot of the different adept attacks and so on. So I would love to see some of those be used throughout the series, and of course he doesn't have a lot of time left because Serral it's only a 2-1 lead. That means he only needs 2 more maps. He's halfway to this championship.
No, certainly. And this will be royal blood between these guys. Spawning over in the bottom left, as that blue Protoss, it is MaxPax.
In the top right, our red Zerg from Basilisk, Serral.
Yeah, I like what Serral's been showing so far, man. Like, even just, like, the little switch-ups in his openings where he's like, you know what, I'm going to go for a 15 hatch as opposed to, like, a 17 hatch on the 3rd location kind of thing. He's just been very comfortable to... He's the one dictating what he wants to do. And here, goes for a pull first, actually, with what he's going to do. And that drone that he's got is wandering out onto the map. Don't know where it's going to go yet.
It's going to come back.
And he's also thinking... Oh, wow. So he waits for that drone to move out of location, and MaxPax obviously. Oh. MaxPax is one smart cookie. Now, Serral is staying out of vision range here with that drone. And yeah, does get to get the hatch on location anyway. Lovely, lovely.
What a dance that was. I mean, that really is quite something because, you know, the logic is if you are going to go pool first, the last thing you want to do is to let your opponent then block your hatchery as well, because then you're taking kind of a double whammy in terms of, you know, eco being delayed, etc. So you do not want to get that blocked. And then MaxPax, he kind of checks towards the third location, and he comes back, and like, he does all the movement to kind of suggest that he's looking for exactly what Serral doesn't want to give up. And Serral was very good to move his drone back as well. He kept it just out of probe range, so the probe knew not to, or the probe didn't know to come and block. The probe instead did have to go to the main to check what was going on, and that allowed Serral to get the hatchery. It was a really fascinating sequence of events, honestly.
And I can imagine a guy, if you're like, you know, over in Plat League, Diamond League, Masters League, whatever you name it, you try and do that. The probe just stays there. Yeah. And it's like, God damn it, why? And it's like MaxPax had to find out what was going on in that main base. He had to make sure that there was like a pool or something going down, because, you know, if you're against a player as good as Serral, you need the information. So you can't just stick around on that natural, because then you can get truly bamboozled. But yeah, that kind of stuff only works at this level, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, you need your opponent to be a certain skill level to do the right thing, for you to do the right thing against the right thing, otherwise it looks a bit silly. So, yeah, Nexus is about to finish up. The single Zergling does slip in and makes its way towards the main base. So we'll just get a scout, because that's exactly what Serral does all of the time. He has the Overlord here too. Saga is going to go in the natural, because that's the one place Serral is not currently scouting, as the Ling dies and the Overlord moves back. Okay, there's another Ling, so he sees the Stargate. Anyways, another Stargate, man. I'm genuinely kind of impressed by how many Stargates we're seeing, as we are going to see the Adept get one drone in the main base.
One drone for its life, is that worth it? I mean,
yes,
depending on who you ask. You think so? All right,
yeah.
All right.
I think generally, like, two Adepts versus two drones is generally very good. But one Adept means that one Adept for one drone this early is better because it's earlier. So I think it's fine. It caused a bit of chaos, a little bit of lost mine time too, so I think it's okay.
I'll trust you, Water. You did math in uni and all that, so yeah, I'll trust you.
Thanks.
Although, you know, I speak to some progressors, they're like, no, you need to put at least 9 drones to make that one Adept worth it. So maybe I've been hanging out with Roddy too much. Who knows? Who knows? No, he's not that bad. Don't worry.
I base I base mine off what Harsman tells me, so.
Okay.
Yeah, well, he once told me that 2 Adepts, if they can get 2 drones and force a little bit of lost mine time, is generally a good thing. So extrapolated it backwards, you know, and said 1 Adept earlier, 1 drone. Yeah, it's good. That's my logic.
Alrighty. Oracle's on the go, and yet again, that's a funky looking wall that he's got going at that natural there. I mean, it's one that's definitely a little bit tricky to bust. Serral moving out with quite a lot of Lings here. Like a good 15 or so darting across the map. Doesn't really have to play defensive against what MaxPax is showcasing thus far. And you did get to see that Oracle did stick around back at home and sees this warp in, does get to get a little bit of a wraparound here, and the Oracle shows up in the nick of time before losing too many of these Adepts. And MaxPax is definitely not going to be too unhappy with how that played out. That was quite nicely timed out for him.
Yeah. No, it really was quite nicely timed out. As that Twilight Council comes down, a couple of gates will be added on here as well from MaxPax. Again, those all up and running. Rocharon coming through from Serral at the front, and a couple of Oracles trying to get by in toward the main base. They are going to get in here now, and there's Queen. Push the Oracles back, so the defense begins, right? This is where we start seeing Serral try and make sure he takes as little damage as possible. We are going back to the triple Oracle here as MaxPax 2, so getting that third one up and running. And for the moment, just some extra gates. We have the Twilight Council down, but no upgrade on it yet. We've just gotten the gas, and there is indeed Blink now starting.
Yeah, no Forge on the go yet for him, so definitely a little bit different. This feels like it could be leading into a lot of things, right? Like he's still probing up like crazy, which is obviously really good for his economy and what have you, and he's darkening around the map. That creep spread hasn't got too out of control just yet. But Serral's feeling something, like he knows he can get away with the greed here. So I'm looking at that production tab from him. He's on 13 drones right now, 6 queens, making a 7th, but he's doing nothing but droning up. So whatever he's been scouting out, and we do see a Ling on the other side of the map, he's like, you know what? I feel pretty okay here. I feel pretty okay indeed. Okay. First Forge to start up. +1 ranged weapons here. Not melee from Serral. Definitely a bit of a switch up from him.
Yeah, a completely different kind of game, right? Just no melee, and different from MaxPax too. You mentioned the Forges, now it's a single one. We're finally kind of splurging out from what's just been the kind of core concept in games 1, 2, and 3, so it's difference time, and look at that infestation pit. That's slap bang in the middle of what I would like to call nowhere. It's obviously decently deep enough on creep, and it's not really a direction Zealot's looking like run in or something anytime soon. So just trying to hide that away, and I guess that's just an idea to hold on to, something to keep an eye on, because I guess it's just for Hive. He doesn't really have gas to like save up for Swarm Host or anything nutty like that, so yeah, fast infestation pick coming through, and a few Stalkers start pressure.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried for Serral here, just because if these Roaches get stasis, like this isn't the big Ling Bane army that you have, this is Roaches here. If that group gets stasis here, I mean, Serral's doing a really good job of throwing in the Lings there, just in case, so absolutely going past what I was worried about for him, but MaxPax is persistent with all of those stasis, man, and here a few Queens take the brunt of it, but this feels scary, man, if you're Serral.
Yeah, Ling Roach actually kind of closing the distance all of a sudden here, though, and this time, yeah, he really just accelerated headfirst into these Stalkers, and he did get a jump in, he got a few kills. Lurker Den on the way down. It looks scary, I feel like, because of the tech he's building, the speed of the infestation pit, the Hive, the Lurker Den. Again, if he gets to Lurkers, what MaxPax is building with these heavier gateway units, I really feel like he's in trouble. On the earlier map that we saw Lurkers, they weren't as impactful because they just didn't really kind of get up to proper numbers while Serral was still in control of the game. This time it could make a big difference, though. Something to watch out for as we play this back and forth game. MaxPax is so good at his control, though. He really is getting so much, and he might eventually get this base. I mean, Serral's kind of on a timer now. He's got to push in, otherwise this hatchery will indeed fall.
Yeah, and the Sasers have been key, right? Like, he's been constantly trying to bait him in. He's just playing it like a Terran with Widow Mines in a way. Like, just kind of dancing in and off the creep, and he gets the hatchery wardy. Serral's down to 3 bases now, and it's not as if he's rich. MaxPax is taking his 5th behind this, while having a superior economy. Like, he's getting +2 on the way. He's actually doing this, and he's playing so damn well. It's making me wonder what Serral's plan is here to come back from this, because he's in trouble without even really that crazy much happening.
Yes, this is I mean, I just feel like he didn't have the numbers to deal with these Stalkers. This one avenue was not an easy one for him to kind of ping through, and like I say, he's going to get to Lurkers. I feel like his hope has just got to be his Lurkers are going to be so much better than the army that MaxPax is putting out, and it still is low tech. It still is purely kind of gateway units. Charge done, blink done, that's it. Upgrades obviously with the double forge now has been added on, so yeah, like I say, it's just really down to Lurkers if you can get to them and actually bring them into play and keep them in position too, because obviously MaxPax has the ability to work around those Lurkers a lot here if he feels the need to as well, so it's not just about straight up fights.
No, it isn't, and MaxPax is now kind of prying Serral's attention here on the right side, on the left side. He's still microing like crazy with these Stalkers, and he's making trades happen. Right now, resources lost tab. MaxPax has been twice as efficient as his opponent, but the game will start to get scarier. But he blinks in, he's blunking. Oh my goodness, that is ballsy. Now he can't do the Dance of Doom here back and forth. Maybe that was a bit of an overestimation there from MaxPax.
It was, wasn't it? Because he's losing quite a few Stalkers. Serral cleans up on the right side, by the way. The group of Zealots has been flirting over there for a while now, has been smacked down, and well, the rest of the Lurkers get up. So while Serral is playing off a lower kind of economy than he would have liked, I do really believe in his current army. MaxPax starts to take this seriously. Fleet Beacon, second Stargate, Robo Bay, he knows he needs the extra tech here to deal with these Lurkers. And this is where MaxPax may just kind of lay off the steam a bit, and that may allow Serral to obviously get his extra bases back up. Of course, MaxPax has created more than just a foundation for himself in this game. He's put himself in an amazing spot with all the bases he's gotten up and the expands. And now he's going to have to deal with some Lurkers aggressively, but I feel like he's, for the moment, setting up okay. Serral is going to take this as a chance to be aggressive everywhere, though.
And there's a few things that are a bit misleading. Even though MaxPax has had the most insane economy, he's only just taken more than 5 gases here. I think he was relying on literally like 4 or 5 gases for the longest period of time because his gas income, he had 4k minerals per minute, but he was only at like 500 gas per minute, which was insane. So the fact is, his tech, he forewent a lot in this game, and now Serral, like, I think he indicated that this army's way too mineral heavy and his scouting has been really damn good, because he's the one now with the superior tech, far superior, but Tempest are going to come out onto the field. I mean, getting into counter to them would be Vipers, which, you know, you already have access to them pretty easily, and the Hydras, but they also deal damage very slowly. I'm starting to get a little bit worried for MaxPax again.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of with you. I feel like, oh my goodness. Okay, that was just a roller coaster of emotions about whether those disruptors are going to be bad, good, terrible, great. Bit of everything there as we do jump on this base, so that's going to go down. At the same time, Zealots have made their way up the right-hand side, and they are going to maybe get a base as well before Serral responds. There are Tempests here. No, MaxPax just moved commanded forward there. That's a major loss. Lurkers are now beginning to create a defense at home, and Serral's just going to back it up. He does need to find a way to deal with A, Tempests, and B, Carriers very shortly, so that's got to be on his mind. I mean, he's not really rich enough to think about a Spire or anything. I feel like Serral needs to do more. I feel like being pulled back by these Zealots repeatedly is really costing him.
Serral either needs to do more or make a ton of drones right now. Like, he needs to do something, and he chooses to go, go, go. He's making a lot of Hydras. He's getting upgrades as well. The Lurker count is pretty decent. It's at 12. But this Tempest count, they are going to continuously pick away. The thing is, this positioning from MaxPax. MaxPax is rich as well, man. He's got so many probes on the field. 2 Lurkers do fall, but what does MaxPax do about this? I almost feel that soon he has to give up this base. Nice disruptor hit.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're just going to blow everything up with the disruptors. The Tempest put damage out, but it's a very slow process. So still has the Lurkers on the right side. I was just wondering if they were going to start getting some more pressure in. We actually have the Oracles are going to respond to the left side as well. Serral is building a lot of Hydras, and he's going to need them because it's pretty much his only, well, it is his only anti-air against Carriers. He could maybe add on a couple of Vipers, and in fact, he does that just now. I feel like that's his only real way to fight the air army, right? Because Hydras themselves aren't going to do it. But Hydras, if the units get abducted into them, then it's possible. Then you can see kind of the way, but all of this just feels like such superficial damage to the bigger issue, which is that Serral is just... He needed to do so much versus what he's actually gotten done.
And that's never the nicest when your drones go on the wrong side of the mineral line over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really worried for Serral. I mean, like, a few of these fights were going okay for him, but he needed more, as you said, because he was like 30 probes behind, and now I see Carriers on the go. He's already at 4 Carriers, Mothership on the way, going to be at 5 and 6 here as well, and getting +1 weapons online there for the air dudes. I mean, this is really scary. The Hydra count's actually very, very fierce here in 24, and 4 Vipers out, so it's not all doom and gloom. And I guess his army value is so damn high with this. It's just MaxPax can afford to remax, whereas Serral can't. Why are they going the wrong way around like this?
Yeah, I don't know. Serral needs to absolutely crush a fight is what I was going to say, but yeah, these drones are really rebellious. They do not want to mine properly. There you go. They're going to go correctly this time around. I just don't know if he can win one fight super convincingly. Like, to me, that's not what this army does. I could see it trading over a while. But yeah, I mean, I guess you just got to go now. And you can see it's only getting better for MaxPax. +2 air weapon, Storm. You know, these are all big upgrades, whereas I feel like the upgrades of Serral, like +2 missiles, adrenal glands, I'm not really excited about those upgrades. MaxPax is in the bottom right, Serral's on the far left. He's going to try and take down a base here, which if he takes down this, he would really knock MaxPax down a little bit, and MaxPax with the recall with a big amount of units is going to catch Serral a bit off guard.
Yeah, and Serral feels like he had to go back home at that moment, but doesn't lose too much for his trouble, so at least that's something. They're both maxed out at this point. It's just, if you bring up that income tab, Wardy. In fact, it's kind of close here, but I guess MaxPax, he's still ahead and has been for a little bit of time, which role reversal in this matchup, honestly.
Yeah, MaxPax
is one carrier.
The carrier might have gone away. MaxPax has not only mined more, but he's also traded better, by the way. So, you know, usually if you mine more than your opponent, it's like, okay, well, maybe I trade less badly. You know, I don't trade as well, and that means I'm in a, you know, okay, hold my force, because I can't get them out in time. This fight's going to break out. Vipers do get feedback pretty quickly. One abduct goes off. Do we have enough to keep fighting here? We work our way through some interceptors. Storm is ready. I imagine Storm on these Hydras is going to be the real answer.
Wow, these carriers actually aren't doing what I kind of imagined they might. These Hydras are working on all these interceptors and all those carriers out of juice, and Serral, amidst all the chaos, despite being on the back foot, is the one that manages to take down a base.
Needs new Vipers, though, right? Losing the Vipers is huge. He is actually going to get bottom right base as well. I mean, he is knocking MaxPax's economy down. Like I say, MaxPax has been in a great position all game, eco-wise and trading well, but this is finally where it's maybe tilting around. Serral is taking down bases of him, and Serral started to trade a little bit better. For the first time in the game, he's trading better resources lost-wise, so that's a huge deal. And there's still probes on this base as well that are going to die before this is all done, so these are difficult to replace too, and Serral is actually going to be maxed out versus a MaxPax who has money to max out again, but is mining less than ever before.
For some reason, whatever Serral was doing in the last minute, he has managed to claw his way back pretty damn massively. And the drone count, the probe count, finally Serral's ahead after quite a slog as well between the two. And MaxPax, he feels like he has to do something on the other side of the map, and he's got the squad to do it. He honestly does, because that is a scary-ass army. You see those little purple energy bars as well? Those are all packing Storm here, so he can pack a massive punch, because Hydras, you know, Zergs joke about how bad they are in this kind of situation, but Serral's been forced into this situation by MaxPax, and he is not dropping a beat here. This Warp Prism getting a lot of eco damage done, and maybe going to catch Serral out in a bit of a bad place. Lovely feedbacks. The Mothership is flown in there. The Storms are good, though. And these carriers, this ain't the same fight as before.
No, it is not. However, we have lost all the High Templar. There's only one remaining back at home, so that maybe means we have a chance. Is there enough anti-air? I really don't think there is. Hydras aren't meant to win against carriers, not when they have +2. Serral can see that, and that's GG's. MaxPax has tied up the grand finals yet again. It's 2-2.
Wow. And it all started with a probe surround, Wardy, with a spawning pool, you know? Like, this was actually a pretty good game.
That wasn't
like,
even
pretty
this game,
game between the... Oh, well, it was?
That was
Oh,
last
freaking
game.
A. Oh, so it's a blur at this point, Wardy. I've been up for the last 2 days straight, casting nothing but StarCraft. I tell you what, though, 2-2 between these guys, this is what we want today, because they're both showcasing some masterclass StarCraft, PvZ. I mean, if Serral wins it, we have one of each. A Zerg champ for Europe, an NA champ for, or a Pro champ for NA, and then a Terran champ for the, basically the Asian region. But yeah, MaxPax for... He is pushing Serral, absolutely pushing him here, and playing really good as well.
Yeah, no, he's playing great, and this is just a weird game all around. Started off with just Serral unable to really deal with the Stalkers, which I feel like when you're playing against MaxPax, it's got to be part of your plan with whatever build you do to be able to deal with those Stalkers, but he just didn't deal with that attack up the left side well enough at all. I do feel like Serral played well into his outs, right? His kind of ways of saying, hey, look, like, I'm in trouble. But what I do have, potentially, is like a really good army if I get to Lurkers. And you saw that. The Lurkers did well. It was just MaxPax was in so good a setup that he had all the time in the world to trade badly and do whatever, and eventually he just has all the carriers because Serral can't do enough quickly enough. And that was the issue. MaxPax was just too far ahead before Serral really even got into the game and started to do things.
Yeah, those +2 carriers really made magic happen, man. Like, they did a lot of damage, and you could see the difference. Like, taking a fight where all your interceptors are already out, those Hydras just absolutely melt, and the feedbacks were good, they were clean on the Vipers, the carry count was high enough as well. Overall, all things said and done, Serral, he's meeting a damn good Protoss here that's showcasing very similar openings with the Oracles and what have you, but just managing to make magic happen with these Stalkers on the map, because I felt like Serral, he went for that funny opening with the +1 ranged missile here, which, you know, isn't super duper common, but then he was just pushed super hard, and whether it down to the map or what, he felt under pressure right from the get-go.
Yeah, no, he really did, didn't he? As we're waiting for players to ready up, it'll be a moment or two, get this going. Yeah, MaxPax just, it's so weird to me. Like, some games just feels like MaxPax's pressure is just so terrifying to Serral, and the next it's like Serral just bops it back. The fine differences between the two is really quite fascinating. As I do have all the readies up, we're going into Babylon. As the series goes on, obviously in a best of 7 there's no vetoes, but the deeper you go, the more interesting it gets, right? Because then you get into the maps that are usually kind of vetoed, or, you know, the maps which neither player really has a preference on. So the last few maps here actually get a little bit smaller. Babylon, Gresvan, and Dragon Scales. You know, MaxPax hasn't brought out any Twilight Council, like, initial stuff yet. I really still feel like we see some of that in this series. I'll keep saying it. Maybe this might be the time here on Babylon. As in the bottom right corner, our blue Protoss player from Psystorm, MaxPax.
And spawn over in the top left, as I read Zerg, it is Basilisk Serral. Oh, taking a good sniff of the air around me, not because of hay fever, but because of how good this StarCraft smells right now. Serral going for a 14 hatch on this map, so again, just kind of appreciating and respecting the fact that it is a smaller map over here. But yeah, again, I like it. I like it.
He is absolutely refusing to be placed out of location with this hatchery, isn't he? And maybe that's in part why MaxPax is going Stargates repeatedly. He's like, well, if there's no hatch on the third to start, maybe I just don't want to play Adepts from the beginning. And that's why it is so Stargate-focused game after game. Maybe that's why he's deciding to do that.
I think, I really do think the usage of the Oracle is just like, if you run after that Stalker squad, you're going to be taking the beam damage, you're going to be running into the stasises, you're going to be, you're constantly getting revelated, you have to worry about the early minigame as well of keeping all your drones alive. And I feel that MaxPax just does all of that way better. Like, if his Oracles early on take shield damage and hull damage, I'm like, it doesn't even matter. Because, as long as he got something done, I know they're going to do stuff later as well. And it really feels like he's utilizing every unit in the best way possible. Because not many people can make Serral run around like that. And like as the game goes on, you really feel like those Oracles are so much value.
Yeah.
So I think it's just about doing what you're comfortable with.
That's very true. Comfort is the... I feel you have to be comfortable with what you're doing in StarCraft, right? Because so much of it has to be second nature, and you have to be confident, and especially at this kind of level. Otherwise, it just doesn't really all meld together. Cybercore will be done soon. We'll see what MaxPax's choice is going to be. As the probe just comes back from the upper side, it's going to be an immediate warp gate, which can be suggestive of a Twilight, but of course, a lot of the time we'll start this up, cancel it, and then start the Stargate anyway. And it could be with the Overlord there, a mind game too, so don't read too much into it, but it might be the Twilight this time. I really am clamoring for a Twilight.
Or just a
late Stargate.
Yeah, or a later Stargate.
Yeah, I say, mind game. Until the Ling runs in.
Mind game.
Until the Ling runs in.
Ling runs in, scouts absolutely everything, and it's just before that Adept does finish here. And he sees the Stargate immediately. Doesn't have to sacrifice an Overlord. That's a little bit of a win for Serral in his book, but it could also come down to the map a little bit, right? For MaxPax, it's like, all right, I have this timing of when I like my Oracle to arrive. Granted, I can make it a little bit faster here, but regardless, my opponent is Serral, and he is going to be prepped for it. But, I'm reading too much into it almost. I think also if you use that Chrono Boost and spend it elsewhere, or maybe because it's a smaller map, having that warp gate ready, you can get stuff on the other side of the map quicker as well. We'll get to see. Both these guys are absolutely the best of their respective races here.
Yeah. Nope, that is very true, Serral. MaxPax really is, like, sometimes as well, just like, he is so innovative, he's so good, like, obviously his PvP set the precedent for, like, just his own style, and he's just been such a well-rounded player as well. I think that, there was definitely a time as well where MaxPax was like, we all thought in like PvZ, it was like, oh, he can only really do this. And then there was a patch, I think it was when we kind of like changed the Void Riz, and I was like, well, yeah, MaxPax is in trouble now. And he did kind of get knocked down for like a week or two. But then he found out what he liked again, and he figured it out, and he just got back on track. And man, pleasure to watch him, and I still can't quite believe he's in this finals, man, and putting up such a good fight against Serral. Serral is the epitome of like, keeping it cool and playing on the big stage. MaxPax is just treating this like a series, man. He's standing up for himself, and he's kind of just going toe-to-toe with Serral.
Yeah, and Serral, for any of these young boys still competing, he's a god, Even for his old Ben Wardy, he's a god in this game. Absolutely the GOAT in my eyes. And what is MaxPax moving across the map with here? So I do think it was absolutely a plan here, because this is quite a chunky number of Adepts, so I think it was lined up to utilize the claustrophobic smaller map here. Granted, Serral is respecting it. He's approaching it. He's making even more Lings over here. But look at this scout. He gets to see that it's a Twilight, Forge, an extra gateway here in the main. Beautiful, beautiful.
Yep, sees absolutely everything as he's back to his melee upgrade. He took one diversion into missiles, and it did not go well for him in that last game. So back to melee we go. 3 drones go down to these initial oracles, zipping and zapping. So 3 workers dead. Nice little start, and the few Adepts of MaxPax still making their way through the center. A couple extra Stalkers warping in, Twilight Council and the Forge building up, and 2 Stalkers do ping their way through to kill off this Overlord.
That blink is on the way. So even though MaxPax has been showcasing that he likes a very kind of similar opening, you can definitely tell that there's differences. There's little changes here and there. And yeah, every time that he goes in with a Oracle and he takes a little bit of damage, you might be like, for one drone, was it worth it? In MaxPax's eyes, whatever he does, you can damn well bet that he knows this matchup way better than any of us. And if these Oracles all survive with literally 1 health, he won't really be diving for those drone kills all the time. It's not as if they need it. They'll be starting to, they'll come into play and they'll be so well meshed into what he wants to do with that Stalker-based army later on. And Second Forge coming online as well. Yeah, he's going to do the same thing, Wardy. He loves it and he's so good at it.
Yep. Yeah, Second Forge coming down, Robotics Facility coming through. Same thing once again. Serral with the Baneling Nest now coming online as well. The only thing I was going to mention is that he keeps missing the active tumor with the Revelation. Like, he always hits it like the second tumor deep, and so you don't get rid of the active one, so he has, not that an extra Revelation means that much, just kind of funny that it's been like, I think the 3rd time now I've noticed it happen, so just a little mistake or so that keeps on repeating.
Mistake. This is MaxPax. It was planned all along. No,
Well, you plan to kill the deeper tumor first?
Yeah, I mean, those Oracles, they barely run out of energy, man. Let's be real. Let's be real. All right. Baneling speed on the go. We do have +1 melee finished up for Serral, so this is different to what he was doing in the previous game. Did not opt for that ranged missile attack. Very quick on the Hydra speed here, though, or the Hydra upgrade here.
Yeah, very different from Serral. We did not see him go into Hydras anywhere near this quickly in previous games, so Lingbane Hydra as a style, you know, a bit more fun, a bit more sturdy apart from the Lingbane. It's funny because Hydras can obviously fall apart, but they can, you know, with the right amount of Lings in front of them, they really do just get the chance to pack such a punch, and it can be very scary as, ooh. Serral nearly went for that dive, then I think he thought about it, he was like, there's probably a stasis ward, and that's exactly what this Ling tries to get. He doesn't have enough speed on him. He'll send a few more Lings, this time he can split the others back, and he will just catch that stasis ward so you can more easily attack in the front. 14 Hydras about to be here, Ben. That's going to be a major difference here for Serral. Let's see if it's enough as the next stasis ward somehow only gets 1 Zergling. That's somehow ridiculous. How did that only happen?
I actually don't know. Serral's playing out of his mind, but this game, the Hydras, they throw a spanner in the works. They deal a lot of DPS, and it means that these Oracles can't hang around and just start cleaning up all these Lings by themselves. I love that little bit, that little change up by Serral. And he's still committed to these this +2 on the melee, meaning that if he does get Banelings online, they are very scary when it comes to dealing damage out on the other side of the map. But MaxPax, he ain't a slouch, man. The same thing, the slow Zealot drop, I mean, making the most of it out of everything, getting in between these mineral lines here. But Serral, he's on the ball. This is dealing no damage to speak of. MaxPax is again ahead in probes. He does not skip a beat, Wardy, and he's taking a 5th base. He's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we commended Hero for so much when Hero came and revolutionized PvZ a bit, right? Where it's just, you don't stop expanding, you don't stop probing. And it means that if the Zerg is so busy dealing with the Protoss army and they get caught up, they end up behind. Even if you do end up trading battle as the Protoss, you can survive that because of your greed. Right now, though, I think he's got a serious issue. I do think this Lingbane Hydra force is a little bit too much for what MaxPax currently holds. And Lingbane Hydra really is an army where I think stopping and going in towards more splash damage is necessary. And there's a Colossus now starting. You need something, because although these units are weak to splash, and otherwise they're just such a good glass cannon to throw at your opponent, yeah, I think MaxPax is right to start thinking about Colossi.
I love this switch up from Serral, though, because he's realized he's hit +2 now as well. And he's going to start attacking from the north side with a lot of units. He's also attacking the other base with some Baneling, so he's doing multiple things at once here. And holy crap, look at that flood of Zerg units. What a stasis ward coming in. MaxPax reacting on the right side as well, trying to keep these probes alive. But there's so much fin on the map. The probes falling left, right, and center. There is just nowhere to run, nowhere to go. The Baneling's getting juicy connections as well. And the base goes down at the 6 o'clock position. MaxPax has been mortally wounded, but not going down without a fight.
The only thing I think Serral could have done, I actually think the Hydras could have killed this Nexus as well, the one that's a low HP. He will lose a hatchery, though. MaxPax will respond. And these Lings will have to just surround these L's. They didn't want to. They're like, you've got upgrades, but they will get there. It is +2 melee. They do kind of zip through them. Only 49 workers left. MaxPax begins to rebuild, but what a difference that one attack of Serral makes. Now it's only 4 bases in MaxPax. It's not him going up to 5 bases uncontrollably. is, one of these bases isn't even saturated, and that means that Serral maxes in the next minute, MaxPax is going to be nowhere near that, and the only benefit MaxPax will really have is that this time around he will have some proper splash. 2 Colossi. Is that enough to stop this Lingbane Hydra Force? I don't personally think so.
I mean, the Colossi are really damn good, aren't they? And especially with, like, the 2-2 upgrades that they're going to have very soon to be +3 on the go as well. But Serral's getting ready to counter that, which is great. His Hive is on the way, and we all know how good those Vipers can be. We all know how much Protosses fear those Vipers when it comes to their Robo units. So MaxPax, if he can possibly hit a timing here with that 3rd Colossus finishing before Vipers are on the field, but is that what he's going to go for? Because, I mean, it feels like he wants to re-establish himself, right? Re-get his economy going, but will Serral give him the time to do that?
I don't think so. I don't think there's any reason Serral... I mean, maybe Serral waits for Vipers, potentially, but if he is going to wait for Vipers, it's not going to be him being completely inactive. He's just going to do it while doing this, like running a few Lings in potentially and threatening on either side. Looks like we will wait for those Vipers before the bigger fight, which means he will have Abducts for the Colossi. And even then, like, how far along is MaxPax in terms of resettling himself? Still feel like he's nowhere near where he once was. I mean, 68 workers, no 5th base. Not that 68 is bad, it's just, we were talking about 80 before.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, MaxPax he's wounded. He's recovering. Make no mistake about it. He knows what counters Colossus as well, and he knows that Serral's been scouting it, and he's going up to a Templar Archives, which is absolutely one way of going about it. But again, these guys, they're all about info. They're both reacting to one another. So it's like, all right, Templar Archives to counter your Vipers, Lurkers to counter everything on the ground that you possibly have. Adrenal Glands coming online. Serral, he is rich now. Like, this isn't a 90 drone game, but he has weathered the storm. He's applied the storm as well. And now MaxPax has a window here where he is very susceptible to what Serral's about to throw at him.
Yep, absolutely. The Vipers are a huge key component to this, so let's see how they go as we are moving forward. So far, well, we do have the High Templar. They're going to be looking for the feedback. Serral rightfully keeps the Vipers back for as long as possible. Now the High Templar are gone, and it's free pickings on the Colossi. 1, 2, 3. That actually wasn't abduct far enough forward. We will re-abduct that one just to double down on the idea, and we will abduct the last one as well. Don't want it to feel left out. GG's. Serral is going to win it out. 3-2 in the lead for the moment, and now 1 map away from the championship.
Super well played by Serral. Like, these guys, I love the fact that it's 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2, and then, they're both, you can see it, like the little shimmies that they're making. Like, this is almost like one of those practice sessions that you have, and if you're practicing for Serral, there's not many Zergs on the planet can do what he does. Same thing about MaxPax. There's not really many Protosses can do what he does. So this is almost like a little mini practice session that we're getting to watch against 2 of the absolute finest, where they're both realizing and learning from each other. And it's like, oh, to beat that, I have to do this. Then it's like, to beat that, I have to do this. And you're seeing all these little micro adjustments on the fly. And it's like, all right, what is MaxPax going to shimmy up here? Because that is an obvious... I don't want to say an obvious weakness, but Serral is just learning, and on the fly, it's like, all right, the good old Hydraling Bane, which is something that you don't often see these days, but that timing was crucial and very, very powerful. And it definitely feels like once MaxPax is given no place to run to, or he's in his base and he has to fight, that's really the true weakness of the style that he's actually applying on Serral here.
Yes. No, it's... I do just kind of look at this and think, though, what do you do now? Like, it feels as though Serral's adapting as the series goes on. And MaxPax, for all the cute things that he's doing and for all the good that he's doing, he needs to keep adapting as well. And he, it's not like he's out the series. He's only a map behind. But every time it feels like MaxPax gets the win, it feels like Serral's like, okay, but what about this? Boom! Straight back at him. And, let's see if MaxPax can keep on. Because the deeper this series goes, the more I always will favor Serral. Because he's shown us repeatedly how good he is at adapting through a series and dealing better at things, throughout a series. Whenever Serral is down like 0-2 against Clemel, you don't count him out because you think he's able to turn it around. You think he's able to figure out what's going wrong and to try different things and to fix those things. So let's see what happens, as it could be his last rodeo. In the bottom right, our Blue Protoss needs to win to stay alive and to take us to a Game 7. It's MaxPax.
And spawning over in the top left, the true conqueror At the moment, he is just playing out of his mind. It is Serral. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, but it does take two to tango, and this is a real good series so far because, you know, we everybody speaks about who they think's going to win Europe and who they think's going to win whatever, but I thought maybe the best chance to take down a Serral was Clem, and he looked like he was doing it. But MaxPax is playing far better against him than I ever thought he would do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all you got to say about it?
No, I'm kind of agreeing, man.
Oh, okay.
No, I was thinking about it. I'm like, I do think this is like the best. This is a way better series than I thought we were gonna get. I'm not gonna lie. I said it to you kind of before we started, right? You're like, who do you think wins? Honestly, I'm like, I think Serral's gonna smash him. And that is a big part of that. Really, is the form that Serral brought going into this event. Like since Katowice, Serral has basically not lost. Like he's on a ridiculous. He was on like an 86 or 87% map win rate. Like, that's ridiculous. You know, and he'd lost, like, 2 series out of, like, 30. And that's why, and again, just, like, you're on the biggest stage. Like, does MaxPax just not feel nerves? Like, because it feels like he's just getting to this finals, and he is bringing some of the absolute best StarCraft. Like, he is just unaffected by the situation.
No, absolutely. I really do agree with you. Like, obviously, we saw peak form Serral in 2018, but what he's been displaying recently has been... kind of nothing short, honestly. Like, he's been playing so damn well. It's hard to put it into perspective how well he's been doing. But yeah, the fact that MaxPax is doing what he's doing here, going toe-to-toe with him in a matchup that I don't know how many people out there are like, oh yeah, Protoss is favored in this matchup. I think the list is unbelievably few. And yeah, going at the best CVP player in the world, bar none. Man, he's putting on a true display here.
In a great series, let's see if we can get to Game 7. It's a Stargate opening now for the 6th game in a row. MaxPax is so comfortable with this Stargate. He is not thrown off by the games he loses. He is clearly very happy to keep on kind of going down this same pathway. He's had the one real switch-up, right? Like, there's been a minor switch-up, like one time he went 2 Oracles instead of 3, but it was still, in the end, double Forge and Blink. The only real switch-up was on Altitude. He went for Glaives. And to be fair, it did absolutely nothing. So I can't blame him for kind of following up and just saying, no, enough with that, and you know, on we go. Stargate once again here gets that going, and Serral starts up a few links, so you can put a bit of pressure on, deal with these initial adepts, and not take early damage.
No, yeah, the warp gate definitely a little bit slower this game, but I think it was... Did he do the cancel thing that you talked about, where he gets the Stargate up beforehand?
Sorry?
Did he do the Stargate before the warp?
Yeah, this time he did for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, the warp gate's
all right, so yeah, the little shimmies here between the builds and the maps, and you know, there's definitely these little things that MaxPax does change up with this build, but yeah, we'll get to see what he does plan here. 3 adepts on the map. Didn't go for a stalker for his wall off here, which is definitely something he did on Babylon. But okay, more oracles joining the field. Do you think it's just going to be the same 3? I mean, it's worked out well for him when it has worked out, hasn't it?
I think 3 is just a good number. It's just a strong baseline. It gives you a bit more dive potential. If you do need to kind of back away with 1, you still have 2 to one-shot drones. So I think 3 is a good number. The one time he went 2, I don't really feel like he missed the 3rd one, but I wouldn't say the oracles were a big factor there. There's number 3. There's our 3rd base. And Adept's just chilling at the front as well. Just, you know, they got a couple creep tumors already, so... Again, just taking what they can get, taking what they're given, and again, just that Evo chamber from Serral. He is just going to keep on going melee upgrade if he's allowed to.
I think it is absolutely the right way to go about things in here. These adepts kind of being caught off guard. Oh, does keep both of them alive. Does get into this natural. Keeping both alive just for a moment there. Does get a little bit of a drone, but if Hearthstone's anything to go by, that was not a good trade, but the Oracle's taking the time to dive into the main here. Do get a couple of drones. Ooh, that was some nice flying. That was straight up Top Gun right there from MaxPax.
And just the knowledge of that he could turn back around for one more hit because he knew that he could, you know, didn't take too much damage already, so maximizing the opportunity when it presented itself. So he does knock 4 drones down pretty swiftly here this time around. Our Forge, our Twilight Council, all on the way up from MaxPax. We do have our oracles already coming out to the left-hand side. And they're going to try and make their way onto, well, even more trouble. There's Triple Queen in position. It's funny just how well defended Serral was back in Game 1. And there has absolutely been openings ever since then. MaxPax has improved the damage out of these oracles. Nearly got caught there. The queen's coming forward to try and say goodbye to one of them.
Yeah, doesn't want to be losing any of those oracles. We know how valuable they do stay throughout the game. And these lings, they were up to no good, but MaxPax was quick to fill in that hole, and yet again, Roach Roaring on the way, Lair on the go as well. Serral is droning up. He's keeping up with MaxPax when it comes to drones versus probes. Sometimes the Protoss can get a little bit ahead here and there, which we have seen during this series, but Serral being nice and greedy. He knows when the timing hits for these Blink Stalker pressure builds, and he is getting away with as much greed as he can possibly get away with. Also, the creep spread, pretty damn sick here. There's quite a bit for MaxPax to clean up.
Yeah, it's starting to kind of get a little bit all over, and of course, if you want to be successful with the Stalkers, you can't have this creep be too far forward, because the further forward the creep is, the less far out you can, the further out you have to start with the Stalkers, and then it's just not as scary, and it's more of a launching pad for Serral to jump on top of those units with to get that surround, so that's definitely a factor. Depths are Stalkers coming up, few lings getting some shots on them, more lings, melee upgrade, roach speed, all of this coming through too, as that triple oracle sits overhead. Melee upgrade is really not far from finishing here.
Wow.
And our stasis on a single ling, once again, by the way. I mean, how many times I know we've seen a very similar game repeatedly, but consistently Serral is just trying to find those stasis with single lings, and he's honestly hit a good amount of them with very few units.
He really has. And it's something that he's been kind of gunning for throughout the series. Even that one time on Ancient System where he's kind of running back home and he's like, oh, there's a blur, like boom, puts a link there. So he's done very well about it. This force so far isn't super scary just yet. I feel that Serral's respecting this way more than on the other maps. He's even got a massive squad of Zerglings on the other side of the map here. So he's got a lot of units out, and he's getting ready for a big wraparound here.
If you blink back now!
I think he's going to get it. He's going to get it. But those oracles,
Yeah,
you got to respect those oracles, haven't you?
I thought that was the exact opportunity that Serral was looking for, though, right? Where it was like he's going to force the blink back, and then he's going to jump on them. But yeah, the oracles activating just means that Serral does not want to commit through to it. He is going back into the roaches this time around as well. Roach Ravager on the way up, alongside the +2 melee and the Baneling speed. So kind of, again, turning back away from what we were doing last time. We do see Lings on the other side, and he's been very active. MaxPax throughout these games, remember, has been so good and so quick at expanding. If Serral can just keep knocking these bases down, that takes away one of the big things that MaxPax has tried to do consistently throughout this series.
I mean, you're absolutely right, because MaxPax has done this while macroing behind super hard, and if Serral can sweep out one of his legs from under him, that's a decent stasis on quite a few lings there. Serral not too quick to chase down, and MaxPax has to defend at home as well over here, which is easier said than done against this swell of lings, and Serral's just like, you know what, let's go for that Nexus over here.
Yep, that will get taken down.
No
Kills
cancel.
this time around. Yeah, big deal, as we do have Zealots in the main base, so MaxPax is starting to do more, but Serral is gaining more at the same time as well, and I mean, he is doing a great job of delaying the 4th base. This has been the slowest expansion we've seen of MaxPax this series, I'm pretty sure of it, because every other time we're like, oh my god, he's he's going to 5 bases, he's dropping down base 6. This time he can't even establish base 4. And he's actually backed off with the Stalkers.
He's full on backed off. Look at Serral. He's just like, all right, infestation pit. My +2 is finishing. I can drone up a little bit. I can even get Overlord speed on the go if I want to. And he's got Zerglings on the top, Zerglings on the bottom. In fact, those are turning into Banelings over there in the 6 o'clock. In fact, both locations turn into Banelings. He can finally breathe a little bit, but MaxPax, he's not going to go down into the night. And Serral's like, oh, you spotted my Banelings, going to stop that. So yeah, they're both still dancing. They just have to dance a different one this time.
Yeah, obviously Serral knows those Zealots are down there, so Ling Roach immediately goes to greet him, and that's going to be an easy cleanup. And he still has the top right counterattack ready as he dives into the center once again. Now he sends that top right attack forward, so he is going to go hunting. He's going to have to go quite deep to find Bane probes, just because that base, the 4th, is so late to come online. He is just going to stop short, and he's going to try and set Banes up for the left side at the same time. So just multi-pronging, as always, and in we go. This base just finished, and Serral, he just knocks down the stack defense. Maybe makes a Ling run by there, that much better further down the line now. Zealots run past these Banes over here, are going to be met by other Zealots. Yeah, okay, good defense from MaxPax. He's also been great at defending this series. You got to give it to him.
He certainly has. He certainly has. I mean, it's almost not even that bad because it does showcase Serral where these Zealots are going to go, and they're all bruised and battered, and takes out quite a few of them as well. But upgrade-wise, MaxPax is going to be at +2/2 kind of soon. Is opting for those Colossus, and yet again, whenever I see a guy go into Colossus, I'm always a bit worried because you know, the Vipers do shut them down really damn hard, and this game's very different to that other one, because Hive already completing here before the first Colossus is out. Serral's in a phenomenal position this game, Wardy.
Yeah, I really think so too. He's been absolutely controlling it this time around. Just every step of the way, it just seems like it's been so much of a slower setup from MaxPax, so much less threatening with the Stalkers. We do see the Ling's going to wrap around. The 5th base might be in some trouble. So might the 4th, honestly, as we do see this army just pushing forward. Here is a Colossus, though. A bit of splash damage that could go a long way. Let's see if it's enough of a difference as the probes are pulling away to the right side. They need to be careful not to run into the Ling's head first, though. And this could be a double kill on bases. We are going to get the right side. We look as though we're going to get the forward base. Wow, double kill in quick succession. Serral just continuing to keep MaxPax pinned back, and the Prism on the other side is finding nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Serral's still at 200 supply practically. And I mean, the Queen's doing their job back at home. He's getting adrenal glands on the go as well. Expanding to base number 6. And MaxPax knocked down back to 3. He's on double robo production. Really putting all his eggs in this one basket, isn't he? But oh man, it's feeling rough if you're MaxPax. Like the map, it's no longer his oyster. Like he's totally shelled in on his side. And he's taking a bit of a beating every which way it goes.
You know, as we see adrenal glands finishing up, there is Hive, right? So we can build Vipers at a moment's notice if you feel like that's what you need, which against the Colossi last time were great, and against the Colossi here will probably be great. Unless Serral really believes he's done enough to just go and keep attacking in the single Stay Sword here. You know, for sometimes he's been so good against the Stay Sword, sometimes he's just not been as great. That one kind of maybe you could have sent a couple Lings forward initially. It's going to let the Banes roll through, but not the greatest of fights because of the Archons, but I guess you're denying the 4th, and if you're denying the 4th, you're still very happy.
It ain't pretty, but when you're so far ahead, and I mean, like, let's look at the main base and the natural base of MaxPax. He's got to be close to mining out on these. Yeah, he is. Even his 3rd base, the mineral counts are starting to get pretty low. Serral knows, man. And look, he just backs off very patiently after taking that out. And he techs up. Viper's on the go. The 2nd Evo also pumping out nice upgrades. Lurker then on the go. Just really clean play. And, you know, map point on the line for him. Shouldn't really risk it, should he?
I think he just knows. He's so good at reading the situation, so he just knows, back it up. There was a lot of Colossi. You know, the previous attack, what did it do? It killed a base, which is nice, but it was kind of an expensive base kill, to the point where next time he probably wants to try and get some units, so he's getting the Lurkers available to him as well, and that's something which right now I don't think MaxPax has enough money to really truly deal with. You can fight Lurkers with the Colossi and the Storms for an extent, but eventually against Lurkers you kind of want to go into Sky Toss, and that's extremely difficult to deal off of what's been a very subdued 4-base setup. Obviously, we're trying to double expand up to 4 and 5 bases now for MaxPax, but I mean, we'll see if Serral has something to say about that. Likely some of his attacks will happen well before they come into play.
I mean, MaxPax has to go extreme one way or the other, doesn't he? He's getting the Storm up, getting some Archons out. His army's fairly chunky, boy, but he's against 53 Banelings with +3 melee on the go. And I mean, these stasises, they have to work wonders. The first one, that ain't it, and a few Archons getting pulled in. I mean, the Storms, I mean, decent micro as well. These stasis are keeping these. Oh, they were keeping them alive, but my goodness, the flood. And look at those Archons. That is not where they want to be on the other side of that army. But Serral, MaxPax does hold on. He didn't lose any pros with this.
He didn't
well handled.
Yeah, he didn't lose any pros, but he lost a lot of the tech. He lost all of his High Templar, all of his Archons. And this time around, Serral, he should be able to get the Vipers back full of energy nice and quickly. Whereas last time he had to fully build the Vipers, right? So, not feeling like MaxPax is out of the woods just yet, but I mean, this was a better moment for him for sure. I mean, only losing army instead of losing army and economy is the first time he's going to actually sit on this 4th base and mine from it for any extended period of time. Banes from a couple different directions are not really finding a way in. They're probably going to bust a cannon, and one does go in for 8 probes.
All it takes is for one of these Banelings to get in and deal the damage, and yeah, these Lings, they do not mess around now. They've got Adrenal. They run in. If they get on your probe line, they are going to melt. I mean, that +2 armor that MaxPax has does mean that these probes will stay alive for a little bit of time against these Lings. Better than they normally would, but he's going to be dealing with the absolute full tech of the Zerg arsenal here. Like, Aspire's coming on the way. Lurker's coming on the way. big upgrades coming down as well. I mean, even Hydralisk range at this point, because Serral's like, why not? These stasis, by the way, they are big for slowing things down and just being like widow mines around the map, just being able to get you scouting information. Those same 3 oracles still alive, by the way.
Yeah, they are still just cruising around. Serral has units kind of just caught in stasis all over the place. The stasis wards really have been, I mean, throughout the series, such a big deal for MaxPax. We talked about, you know, Serral sometimes dodging them well, but there's definitely been ones he's just wandered straight headfirst into. Stasis wards might just be the, you know, if this series was made into a movie, it could have been called the Stasis wards, because it really has been about that. Banes on the right side are going to find a very low probe count, so there's not even much for them to hit here, but they will take down what is possible. There are some drones dropping at the same time. Bottom left, Zealots find the newer base of Serral. MaxPax's army is looking very good. Like, this is the best he's looked all game. He's survived, he's weathered the storm, he's used the storm. And Serral's going to have lurkers, yes, but I mean, this army of MaxPax cannot be discounted.
It can't, but that is a big amount of lurkers, and even getting transfusions off on these lurkers just to make sure that they do not die. MaxPax, he's relentless though, man. He really is. Like, he was down to 3 bases against like 6. He somehow got up to 5 bases, taking his 4th and 5th simultaneously, and he's out on the map again, Wardy. Like, this is no longer him being super bullied around. Granted, it can all come down to one moment here. Like, if he lands the feedbacks on those Vipers, he has a shot. So he has to use those Oracles for vision so damn well. He also has to deflect all these counterattacks as good as possible, and he's doing a damn good job, but Serral's also, he knows how to keep MaxPax back and also keep his attention here, there, and everywhere. Some disruptors popping out, shield back. They're both playing so good.
Corrupt is now on the way. We're heading to a second Spire, Greater Spire. Just saying, hey, look, this is the kind of game we're getting to these later stages. Disruptors are going to try and find lurkers. They find one of the 2 that were there. The other got unburrowed and got away. The Spire nearly finds the Disruptor. Doesn't quite make it in the end, though, as a few Hydras are going to come poke the Oracles back as well. The Corrupt is obviously good against the Colossi, but I think the big thing is just we do not have an answer to Broodlords right now. So if Serral gets up to a chunk of Broods, like, Stalkers and Archons can get under them, sure, but that's a very difficult ask at the moment.
It's just, yeah, it's unbelievably hard, and that is one place, that is one way I could see him maybe getting a bit too ahead of himself. I mean, if he moves over a bit to the left there, okay, lurkers are back here to join, but decent disruptor shots. MaxPax is making a real game out of this, man. Like, he really is. I've been down and out on MaxPax the whole time, but he is fighting tooth and nail.
He's doing a great job bottom side as well against a bunch of units that were down there. His run-by is looking decent. There's not really many lurkers there. Here are the Broodlords. You really have a lot of faith in them. This army of MaxPax does not have even enough Stalkers, I really feel, to go. Like, there's 9 Stalkers and 6 Archons. That's the anti-air, plus a couple Storms. Obviously, you can warp in Stalkers quickly, though, but MaxPax doesn't have a ton of bank. So this is going to push him back, and that's one thing that Serral kind of just needed in the first place, just a bit of space again, and now he gets a good catch on a lot of the Archons down south, so that's actually a lot of this anti-air, and we warp in a bunch of High Templars to follow up.
I feel like the wind is back in Serral's sails, isn't it? Like, he was getting bullied a little bit by that Protoss army, but with these Broodlords out on the field, and I mean, those Broodlings deal a lot of damage with that +3 already finished, and Serral, yeah, he took a little bit of damage there, but his gas income is sick. Like, he's getting 1,400 gas per minute. That is a lot that he can value there, and he's been ahead for a long time as well, we can't forget. And resources lost tab, definitely in favor of MaxPax, but it's also because Serral's been ahead that he felt he could do a lot of these weird trades, and he's going to start shutting down the bases, and yet again.
Yeah, I mean, MaxPax has been allowed 5 bases for a while, so I was going to say no to number 6, however. Or at least some of the probes that were trying to mine there. It's actually going to get cancelled immediately. MaxPax is pulling back to deal with it. He did go Fleet Beacon in the Stargate, and getting towards the Tempest is the answer to the Broodlords, which I didn't know he was ever going to get to, because I kind of felt like once Serral got the Broods, he was going to go for a pretty just hefty push across the map. But he clearly thinks otherwise. He's rebuilding his own hatchery, and he's even setting up a Nidus, so really looking to play a much longer game. Neural Parasites as well. He is not looking to rush into a fight anytime soon, although right now he's kind of really making life miserable for MaxPax trying to get this base online.
Yeah, they're both relatively low ecos when it comes down to it, like 68 drones against 56 probes. Serral does get to see that there are Tempests out and about. Burrow has been completed. Infestors, +2/+2 air weapons and air armor. I mean, they're really pulling out all the stops here in this matchup, and we're getting a good old-fashioned late-game PvZ between them, but Niduses are going to start to begin. What's he going to pop into them, do you reckon?
Just Lings. Honestly, Lings to
Just
disrupt the
Lings
main.
cause havoc?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Lings easily dealt with, but I mean, I would say maybe Lurkers as well, but I just feel like Lings are so expendable right now as well for Serral. And Lings just will shred these buildings, and yeah, I think Lings would be the one. If he ever gets a chance, obviously this will shut down pretty quickly. Lings are going to go top right and find some static defense here. Again, the power of +3 and Adrenal is going to mean they shred through even with battery healing. And they're going to go straight back onto canceling that Nexus. MaxPax, even his 5th base, is definitely going to be on the way, down very soon in terms of what it can mine. So the 6th becomes more and more important given time. As Serral builds up more and more of just this super late game army, he's clearly feeling comfortable the longer the game goes.
He is the absolute scariest player when it comes to micro in this army. Like, this is a lot of spellcasters, Vipers, Infestors. There's a lot of Queens in the mix as well. And yeah, they are just saving up energy. Like, time, I don't want to say it's against MaxPax, but we have seen Serral time and time again display phenomenal micro with this. And really, ever since like all those Protoss air nerfs and what have you, it's so hard to beat this army. And MaxPax, he's got a juicy army himself, and he's going to start poking and prodding. These Tempests with the Tectonic Stabilizers as well, going to start dealing a lot of damage to these spores. I mean, Serral's definitely under pressure.
Yep. No, he is. He's still going to have to be the responder. He's got a fair amount of Corruptors now, 9 of them, 6 Infestors, with Neuroparasites available too, by the way. And the Infestors are just going to go. Fungal Growth. Okay, it's a decent start. Now we're going to Parasitic Bomb combo. Can we get another Fungal off to keep those units stacked up? Yes, we will. It's a lot of damage being done. And now the Corruptors are going to fly in for the follow-up. And uh-oh, MaxPax. That is how you get your army wiped. I mean, obviously not wiped, I guess is the wrong word, but the air units get kind of wiped out very swiftly. Wow.
And using the Nidus there to pick off that 6th base, and yet again.
What a position,
mate.
Ooh,
yeah, this is just...
well.
Like, Serral's playing freaking 4D chess here, man. Like, he's got MaxPax right where he wants him. And, I mean, even though he's right outside his base, and he'd prefer him with far less an army than he has. But look at this, he's just bouncing between the bases here. Lovely use of that Nidus, lovely use of these Lurkers. And back at home, he's sitting so damn pretty here, Wardy. More Corruptors as well, so he's just getting the perfect army out.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just progressing really, really well. MaxPax, originally when he was pushing in the first, we were first starting to see the idea of Brood Lords, it was scary, but now, even when he got kind of up in towards Skytoss, so a few Skytoss units, Serral had already made the adjustments to really start dealing with that as well, and that obviously goes a big way to helping out, as we are having now our couple extra Stargates continuing up, a couple of carriers still building, plus 2 air weapons is also going to start on the Cybernetics course, just bringing that up right now as well.
Yeah, it's just, that's +2 air weapons, but Serral's starting up +3/+3 air. Like, those carriers, it gets to a point, if they're on equal upgrades, then it's really bad for the carriers, but normally the carriers get their upgrades a little bit faster than the air upgrades of the Zerg, right? And then you're having to deal with all this air AoE as well, like Fungal, Parasitic Bomb. Granted, you have Storms, but these Corruptors, they are bulky boys. They start off with, like, 2 base armor, and, like, it's going to be so hard to batter all this down from Serral, and I love how he's utilizing this Nidus here.
Yep, just really using it to reposition multiple times over. These Lurks are genuinely scary, and if you can get them out alive every time, it forces such a reaction only to then, not have any follow-up. Overlord gets denied, probably trying Nidus over here, but even just Nidusing up on the top, just getting close to the bases. The reposition close to bases is big, and Serral on a Broodlord push, that's how confident he's feeling. He's been very passive up until now. Even more Lurkers this time. We're going to dive back into that Nidus. One goes down, but, I mean, it's just allowing him to put all the focus on this forward base, and that's going to die.
It certainly is. And look at his bank behind this. Like, it's not super excessive. These Lurkers are bouncing here, there, and everywhere, man. Like, this is so good and so annoying as well. If you're a MaxPax, you're going to be having one of the worst times of your life, even though you're in a grand final. But this is not what you want to be dealing with right now. Not what you want to be dealing with at all.
Well, Serral just going to tuck these Lurkers further behind the base as well. So it kind of forces MaxPax further up to deal with it. And that maybe is the jump Serral's waiting for. Does dodge away from the first storm. He actually kind of eats it on the Corruptors. So that's a little bit painful. Broodlord's taking some shots off the Tempests. I mean, all going to fly in now that the Corruptors believing they can get enough done. They get rid of one more Tempest. Meanwhile, we've just lost a whole bunch of probes all over the place. 30 have been killed. MaxPax only has 10 workers left. Yeah, he has no economy, man. He has absolutely nothing.
Serral's just tore him apart. He really has. This is a true tearing apart of the economy of your opponent. And MaxPax, a true warrior. He's remaking these probes as much as he can. The Mama Ship core is out, but I think he's down to one last hoorah here. He does have a strong army still alive, but Serral, look at this. Everywhere he goes with these lurkers, they're getting damage done, and resources lost is finally on his side. If this was just your everyday ladder game, you can bet your ass MaxPax would be out, but there is so much on the line with this. A true finalist, a true competitor. He goes in. He's feedbacking, getting a few of these units dead, but fungals and parasitic bombs are landing. The army's going to start melting away, and GG! Serral takes it 4-2 against MaxPax.